So Zongbo, you're an atmospheric chemist.
Yes.
Could you explain a bit what that involves and what your interests are?
My main interest is try to understand the exchange or not exchange, the deposition or the flux of nutrients such as iron and phosphorus and nitrate from the atmosphere to the surface ocean or forest. So it's basically the ecosystems. So what I want to do is to do some field measurement, laboratory simulations, and with this data feeding to global models, so we could actually estimate on a global scale or to a particular places how much of those nutrients has been transported from the land to the ocean, from the atmosphere or to the forest, and how much of that nutrients are bioavailable. When I say bioavailable, I mean how much of that nutrients can be used by the either marine photoplanktons or the trees or the grasses, etc.
Oh, that's what you see. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought, to many people thinking of iron, you wouldn't necessarily think of that as a nutrient. So things in the oceans, we use iron as part of their biology.
Yeah, iron it's micronutrients which is needed for the microphytoplanktons to grow. These, in about 1/3 of the global ocean, they don't have enough iron. They have lots of nitrate and lots of phosphate, which is the macronutrients we call them. In the surface ocean. So if you think if there is iron, it should grow very, very well and use those nutrients. But in about 1/3 of the global ocean, such as the Southern Ocean, there are so many of the macronutrients, nitrate and phosphorus, but the phytoplankton can't use them very well because they don't have enough iron. That lack of iron is very similar to the lack of iron in the human body.
Right.
If there isn't enough iron for us in our human body, we have we are going to have develop diseases as well.
Anemia.
Yes,
anemia,
yes, exactly.
Sorry,
yes, yeah. So that's the reason why we're really interested. Well, when you think about in the very, very ocean, in the very, very far away from the land, they are very deep, and the things from the bottom, you can't get them up to the surface because it's so deep, and the wind couldn't make the waves move that deep. In that case, either you're going to have the nutrients which is transported from somewhere else, from the ocean current, or you're going to have something from the atmosphere.
Right.
And in those very, very remote oceans and very, very remote forests, and the major sort of sources actually are from atmosphere.
Right. So this is dust that's coming in and being blown over the oceans and then settled down onto the oceans and is stimulating life. So where does this iron come from? Is it natural, or does it also come from human activity?
There are two main sources. You have natural sources from mineral dust, basically, and we probably in here we don't have dust storms, but in China, in Asia, in downwind of those dust storm areas, and in Mediterranean, in Atlantic Ocean, there are lots of dust.
Lots of dust coming off.
Yes, millions of tons per year.
Okay.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
That's one of the most important sources on a global scale. One of the most important. But there are also some other particle sources as well. Something like biomass burning, forest fires. There are lots of forest fires almost every day, particularly in the tropical and subtropical areas.
Right.
And they create massive amount of particles,
Yeah.
and they get transported on a global scale again, just like the dust. They contain lots of nitrate, lots of phosphate, and lots of, well, some iron as well. But human beings also emit a very important amount, well, lots of iron.
From all of the industrial activity and cars and
Power
power
plants,
plants, yeah.
cars, possibly, but we don't really know how much they
So-
are. Yeah.
So your research on a kind of day-to-day basis, do you go out to various places and take air samples and try and measure how much of these particles are in the air, or how do you do that?
Well, for a typical day, it would be, let's say, I need to go somewhere. We have our sampling site just over the Elms Road, which is close to the. It's just on campus.
Yeah.
We have a sampler where we collect both dry and wet depositions.
Right.
When we say dry depositions, it's the particles of dust. So if you didn't clean your table, sometime you're going to get lots of dirt on it. That's what we're trying to collect. Also, there's rain.
Yeah.
And the rain is, we call them wet depositions, also an important source of particle deposition. So we collect those samples, we take them to the lab, we use a lot of particle separation techniques to remove the particles and analyze the different fractions, analyze the filtrates, analyze the particles from, let's say, 1 to 200 nanometers, and analyze the whole samples as well. So we want to know the distribution
Right.
of the metals at different size ranges.
Particles.
And by combining with other chemical analysis, including ion analysis and the water-soluble organic carbon analysis, what I'm trying to do is trying to understand the relationship of the fractionation of iron at different size ranges with the chemical compositions of the aerosol. So because global models, they have a relatively good capability in simulating, let's say, sulfate, nitrate, and that sort of ions.
Yeah.
If we can make a collection of that fractionation of the solubility of metals, then we are able to plug that to the global model.
So you're really understanding the global processes a lot better by understanding the local scale processes which feed into them.
That's true. Actually, one of the exciting part, I think, is to do something in the lab on a micro or nano scale, which can be fed to the global models, which is I think is quite interesting. So what I my thinking is, what I'm doing is to understand the nanoparticles and in a system.
Yeah.
Because this global models, what I have interacted with is called GloMap,
Right.
and it's feeding, the results are feeding to the MetOffice and ARC system models.
Right.
So that also part of the program. You got analysis of those nanoparticles. They eventually, through sort of equations, through all sorts of processes, they go to the global model. Global model goes to a system model. So you understand a system better.
Yeah. It's really interesting just how you going from a tiny to
Yeah.
understanding the whole world.
Yeah.
And it's a really kind of specific area of research, it seems to me. How did you get interested in it?
Well, it's kind of coincidence. So when I went to Leeds, I started to learn the geochemistry.
Yeah.
I am have a background in mostly atmospheric science, atmospheric aerosol particles. But when I actually found them, when I combined with the knowledge I learned from my supervisors, from my colleagues in geochemistry, I found that, wow, this is something, it's a new area and no one has been working on it, and it's actually really helped us to understand the system much, much better than before. Because for atmospheric scientists, really, we don't really know a lot, or really we need to know less about this geochemistry of those iron and phosphorus. They are lots of geochemistry involved in that ion chemistry. And for atmospheric scientists, we don't learn them, we don't know them, and that's where we have sort of many times we make mistakes, or many times we limit our understanding or limit our ability to further our understanding on ion biogeochemistry.
It sounds like a really exciting new area of research. And is there a reason why Birmingham's a particularly good place to do that kind of research right now?
I think Birmingham is probably the best place we could think of. We have many facilities here, probably the most comprehensive ones in the UK, particularly those nanoparticle analysis techniques. We are the best in the UK. And we also have ICP mass here, which is very good.
And what's that used for?
It can analyze the many trace metals in the same time.
Right.
And also we have the expertise in both areas. We have atmospheric scientists here, some people like Professor Roy Harrison. We also have nanoparticle expertise. Someone you may know, Professor Jamie Need and Professor Eva Valsami Jones. So that's the area which you link them together. So I am the person which actually link these two very strong areas together.
Fantastic.
And to make this to fit to global models. So I have collaborations with Leeds in global modeling as well. So.
That's really exciting, bringing these different areas of research together.
Yes.
Based on that, where do you think you'll be in your research coming 5 years from now when you finish your Birmingham Fellowship?
It's a difficult question. What I hope is in 5 years I will develop a reasonable sized group where we could have a better understanding or better constraint on the deposition fluxes of the nutrients to the global ocean and the global rainforest. And that sort of data is really crucial for the our system models. So what I hope is this group is going to be one of the world leading groups in this area.
That sounds great. And are you enjoying your life in Birmingham? I think you've been here for about a year now.
Yeah.
And it's treating you well.
Yes. I really like Birmingham. It's have really good support, and from the head of school, from the colleagues as well. I'm really happy with it, and the life in Birmingham. Yes, I like it as well. Particularly my family, they like to be here. The school where I live in the harbour, which is about 25 minutes to the university, which is 25 minutes walk to the university. It's really nice, close, and a really good area. Have a really good school as well.
That's nice.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful green city. Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a lovely place.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks very much for telling us about your research. Sounds like a
You're very
really
welcome.
exciting
Yes.
area, and it's really a pleasure to talk to you about it.